Yo, what is poppin' peeps? It is your boy Jet, and today we're gonna be talking about the first episode of My Villain Academia. But before we get into the video, make sure you guys go ahead and DK that subscribe button, turn on the bell so you never miss another upload. 100% stress output that like button, and make sure, this is the important part, make sure you use Sad Man's Parade and share it with everyone you know. But without further ado, let's talk about My Villain Academia. So if I had to be honest, this episode of My Villain Academia was good, okay, but it just felt like there was something missing. If I had to put into a single word, I guess this episode felt very passable. The episode did its job, but there was just things missing, and it honestly just felt kind of underwhelming. It felt like a C grade job of an episode. Did it pass? Did it do its job? Yes. But could they have put a little bit more effort into this episode? Yes. Now a lot of you are thinking like, oh, this is just the first episode of this arc. It's not that big of a deal if it felt underwhelming or just passable. To that I would say, yes, it is very important that this first episode is good. Great even. Because the first episode usually gives you a feel for how the rest of the series goes. If this episode was passable, then most likely the rest of the arc is just gonna be passable. But let's go ahead and start talking about the goods and bads of this episode. Well, for starters, they changed the opening. Yes, they changed the opening. I was so glad. The opening started playing. They changed the My Hero Academia logo to the My Villain Academia logo. And I was like, yes, they changed the opening. I went through the rest of the opening and then realized that was the only thing that they changed. A single logo change was the only thing they did to the opening. When I saw that the opening barely changed, I immediately just thought,
this couldn't be worse.
Now listen, is this gonna ruin the entire arc that they didn't change the opening? No, because you see every arc gets its own opening. And the job of the opening is to kind of get you hyped, kind of get you ready to see what you're about to go into, you know? But how am I supposed to get hyped for the villains when the entire opening is about characters that aren't even in this arc? Now look, I get it. I'm probably a part of that side of the fan base who just complains about everything in the anime, but come on, we're probably not gonna see Deku and the other heroes till like next season. Why are we getting an opening with them in it? The main characters are Shigaraki and the rest of the league right now. Why aren't we getting an opening that showcases Shigaraki in the league? Look, skipping past the opening, I think they should have changed it. They didn't. Oh well, it's not the end of the world. It is still disappointing that they didn't change it because they give a new opening for every single arc that they do in My Hero, but apparently the League of Villains and Endeavor Agency are so similar that they kept the same opening. Look, it's whatever. I'm not disappointed. I'm not crying right now. I'm not crying. Let's move on to the actual episode. And the entirety of chapter 220 was cut out. And if you don't know what happens in chapter 220, well, we first off start off the chapter with that famous panel of Shigaraki decaying the My Hero Academia logo, and it's gone. It's not in the anime, even though it was something that we really wanted. We wanted that in the opening. It showed the My Hero Academia logo, and then bam, Shigaraki comes in the opening, decays it, new opening, but you know it. Look, is Shigaraki decaying the My Hero logo important for the rest of the arc or like series? No, not really. It's one of those little fan service treats, like here's a little bit of something special, Shigaraki decaying the My Hero Academia logo to make this arc feel more unique. And honestly, that little page or panel is one of the more not iconic, but one of the more cool details about this arc. Also, what they cut out in chapter 220 was the League of Villains robbing the Creature Rejection Clan. I remember there was memes going online and saying like, oh, Stone Ocean, I think, in My Villain Academia really about to introduce fans to the KKK, and I was excited to see the Creature Rejection Clan get absolutely murked by the League of Villains, but they cut it out. It's just disappointing we didn't get the CRC in MHA. Also in chapter 220, while the League of Villains are chilling, Toga ends up talking to Shigaraki about him missing Kurogiri and why this doctor is so important. And Shigaraki responds to her by telling her that the doctor is important because he has the power for them to change the world, but he never says that he doesn't miss Kurogiri, which shows that even though he is a villain, he cares about his comrades. And he says it in the episode too, how he cares about his comrades. I know this interaction with Toga and Shigaraki really isn't that important in the long run, but it's a little bit of characterization, humanization of Shigaraki that we needed for this arc. Also in chapter 220, we get character development for Best Boy Spinner. The little moment I'm talking about is Spinner grabbed Shigaraki by the collar and is telling him, "While we just sitting around, let's go make shit happen." I'm not surprised they cut out this Spinner moment. I mean, they left him out of the first promotional art for the arc. I mean, they kind of made up for it by putting him in the second promotional art, but like still, you messed up by leaving him out of the first one. That's the GOAT Spinner. I'm tired of people disrespecting my boy Spinner. We need love. We need justice for our favorite Ninja Turtle reject Spinner. So in the comments, everyone put hashtag justice for Spinner. But to wrap everything up, basically all of chapter 220 was cut out besides the end. And I understand why they cut out that chapter. They don't have any time or any episodes to actually animate that chapter. This season has been tough and they've been trying to squeeze in a lot of stuff. They don't really have any time or any episodes to actually animate that chapter, so they just cut it out. I mean, come on now. It's not like Bones decided to make 2 filler episodes and fill the entire season with flashbacks. Alright, look. If you aren't looking at the screen right now, I'm gonna need you to do it real quick. Before NVA started, I was wondering how they would adapt this panel of Shigaraki's monologue and how he wants to destroy everything. And Bones found a genius solution for this problem. They didn't animate it at all. This collage, this panel, is one of the more iconic parts of this arc. Also in this panel, it shows off the villain 9, you know, the main antagonist of the second movie. This panel would have been the first appearance of 9 in the actual anime. You know what's funny about them leaving out the movie villain 9 out of this episode? Is that Bones has no problem with switching around the arcs and adding a filler episode in order to promote a third movie that Horikoshi did not want at all. There were some more cut out parts in this episode that I frankly really don't have enough time for, but I just want to tell you guys to expect more cuts from this arc. I can tell this arc is going to suffer a lot more as we get further into it because of these cuts and censorship. And it's all because My Hero Academia, television wise, is seen as a kid's show, even though they are okay with showing us titties, ass, and a fucking human exploding into a bloody puddle. I know I've been talking very negative throughout this video, but let me get through some positives that I liked about the episode personally. First off, the music was good. I liked it. Another positive of this episode was how they recreated the manga panels into the anime. While I still prefer the original manga panels, these frames in the actual anime aren't too bad. And probably the biggest positive, the Shigaraki flashback was really good. I really liked how they handled this flashback of Shigaraki meeting All For One and Dr. Ujiko, and it gives me hope that they will properly animate and give justice to Shigaraki's full backstory once we get to that point. Look, if you take anything away from this video, is that this episode wasn't bad. It was passable. It was disappointing to see that the opening barely changed. It was disappointing to see a whole chapter where we see the League of Villains be humanized be cut out. It was disappointing to see Shigaraki decaying the logo be cut out. It was disappointing to see other things that were cut out in this first episode. And I think what infuriates me more is that this is just a start. They just started NVA and I'm already kind of just meh. Just imagine the rest of the arc. Getting this first episode of NVA was supposed to get us hype for the rest of the arc, but now I'm just kind of indifferent with the rest of this arc. Look, I know some of you viewers are probably thinking like, oh, you're just being a very whiny MHA fan. I loved this anime. I was one of those anime fans who were in the trenches when people were calling the anime mid. I was the one telling them, just wait to NVA, just wait to NVA, it will change your mind, it will get people back on the anime, just wait to NVA. But with how the anime is going right now, I might have to agree with him that this anime is mid. But don't worry, the manga is still peak. It's still the best thing running in Jump right now. I don't think this arc will be garbage. Overall, season 5 has been passable at its best and absolutely garbage at its worst. And season 5 is doing its job of entertaining the anime only watchers. I mean, it's doing really big numbers in Japan and all over the world. But as someone who's actually read the manga, this arc, this season could have been so much better. But I'm gonna stay hopeful for NVA, and you should too. Not hopeful as in, oh my god, this is peak, this is way better than the manga. But hopeful as in, hopefully this isn't 7 Deadly Frames.